Yes, this is my first time trying Sigma brushes. Yes, I've been living under a rock. Hello humans. Today I come to you with a very interesting video, at least interesting to me, and I'm sure you will also find some helpful information in there if you keep watching. Is it worth it to get high-end brushes? Or is it not significantly different from other affordable low-end options? Because makeup brushes are one of those things that have a very high variation in price points. So it is worth finding out, isn't it? I decided to recently try some of the Sigma brushes and compare them with my e.l.f. brush set that I've been using for a little while. So I got an email from Sigma saying that we have an ultimate brush set for 50 USD. And that was quite a good price, so I thought, why not? Let's try it. Before this, I just thought they were too pricey, not just Sigma, but all the high-end brushes in general. I just didn't think they would be worth it. I've been using my BoxyCharm brushes for a while now. I've purchased some off Amazon, and I just didn't think that it was worth the investment. However, with this good deal from Sigma, I thought, why not find out? The two brush sets that I'm going to compare today is, like I said, the Sigma Ultimate Brush Set. I got this for 50 US dollars. It's a 10-piece brush set and it contains both face and eye brushes. I'm just looking at my notes here. So the Sigma brushes are obviously at a higher price point. The value of this brush set is said to be $200. And they're both, the e.l.f. brush set and the Sigma brush set, they're both synthetic. So what is the difference between two makeup brush sets that are both synthetic? They're not natural fibers. What's the price difference about? That is my question. Sigma says that their Sigma Tech and Sigma makeup brush fibers work both with cream and powder products and are antimicrobial to protect your skin. The other brush set that we're going to compare today to the Sigma one is the e.l.f. brush set. This, I believe, was released in the holiday season last year. It originally retailed for 50 US dollars, I believe. However, I got it on sale for approximately 20 US dollars. In terms of value for money, I would say the e.l.f. brush set is a better value because it comes with more brushes. This actually comes with 18 face and eye brushes, which is quite a good deal. The Sigma brush set comes with 10 brushes. Before we get into the makeup application, I just want to mention that I will use the same makeup products on both sides of my face. On this side, I will use the Sigma brushes, and this side, I will be using the e.l.f. brushes. You see the full makeup application here, however, I will go through each brush and their counterpart in the other set, and we will achieve this look. So this is the e.l.f. Buffing Foundation Brush, and this is the Sigma 3D HD Kabuki Brush. They're both used for applying foundation. So the bristles on the e.l.f. brush are significantly less dense than the Sigma brush. I actually quite like the shape. It's easy to get into those creases like under the eyes and around the nose and all the curvatures, which is what the website says that it's meant to be for. So next I have tested out the F30 large powder brush from Sigma and the powder brush from e.l.f. In this case, I would have to give props to the Sigma brush because it applied the powder really evenly and also more saturated, as in I can see that it mattified quite a bit. I can see the powder on my skin. Whereas the e.l.f. brush, I can still see some of that shine coming through, like if you see under the eyes. So that is a little bit of a letdown. Next, we have the small contour brush from Sigma, F05. And next, we have the mineral powder brush from e.l.f. The e.l.f. set does not have a contour brush, so for the sake of consistency, I thought I would pick a similar shape. I don't usually contour, but I'm actually doing this just for the sake of the video. And this is basically not a contour shade, but it's more of a bronzing shade. So it's going to be warmer. It's diffusing the color nicely. Here is the result. Thoughts. I actually like both of these. I think they both performed equally. I think the Sigma brush is a little more pliable, a little more flexible, which means that it's going to be good for powder products, for spreading powder products. The e.l.f. brush, on the other hand, it's a little stiffer, which means it could be good for applying cream products. I actually would prefer applying my cream bronzer with this one. So I will try that as well, and I think it will work pretty good. So these both, I would rank them equally. Moving on to blush, we have the e.l.f. blush brush, and we have the Sigma Duo Fiber Powder Blush F15. With blush, I'm gonna have to give it to Sigma. Like, I like the e.l.f. brush, like it builds the color nicely. However, I'm seeing some absorption of product in there. Like the product sticks there and does not want to transfer as much to the skin. In terms of Sigma, if you see the shape of the brush, it's very, the fibers are like quite diffused, like they're individual fibers, which means that when going on, right in one swipe, it will diffuse the blush for you. You don't have to do a lot of blending or placement even. Like I did this and it was all over the cheek and it was blended beautifully. I'm gonna have to give this one to Sigma. So next we move on to highlighting. We have the Sigma F42 strobing fan brush and we have the e.l.f. highlighting brush. So personally, the e.l.f. brush is kind of big for me. I would rather go with the Flawless Concealer brush, like a smaller one. It's quite dense and nice. However, for the purposes of this video, I will not be using this one because we're going to use the brushes that are made for the particular function. So this is the highlighting brush and we're sticking with it. In terms of the fan brushes are, in my opinion, kind of an old-timey concept, however they work. So let's see what happens. Unfortunately, this round goes to no one. It's a draw. The highlighting brush, like I showed you, it creates a very concentrated stripe on your face, and when you blend it out, the vibrancy of the highlighter decreases, which is not something I really like. And when you build it up again, it's again a stripe because this is a very small surface area and it makes a kind of a stripy thing on your face. The e.l.f. brush, on the other hand, covered a whole chunk of my face. So not just the highlighty portion, the top of the cheekbones. It covered my whole blush area, and I don't like that. I want there to be some precision because you don't just highlight on the top of your cheekbones. There's the bridge of the nose, there's the cupid's bow, there's the chin. So we need a little bit more precision than that. That's why I would maybe use a brush like this. I actually have a brush in my collection that is better than both of these, and I would stick with that. Next, I'm going to test out the Fluffy Eye Blender brush from e.l.f. And from Sigma, we have the E35 Taper Blending Brush. These both are standard blending brushes. Like I said in the start of the video, I'm going to be using the eyeshadow palette that I recently used, so to keep things consistent between both sides of the application. Okay, so thoughts. Both of these have a slightly different mechanism as far as I'm seeing. So the e.l.f. brush is bigger, fluffier, and it's a little bit more dense than the Sigma one. So what happens is you pick up a lot of product on this one, and then when you go in, it's quite pigmented at first, and since it's a little bit denser, it's easier to blend it out. You have to work at blending it, but it's going to show up a little bit more pigmented if that's what you want. In terms of the Sigma brush is softer, less dense, and it gives a very diffused application on the first try. So you can see the shadow isn't as pigmented on this side, however, it's immediately blended. So if you like creating really blended looks, I think this could be what you're looking for. Let's move on to some eyeshadow packing brushes. First, we have the Sigma Eye Shading Brush, E55, and we also have the e.l.f. Eyeshadow C Brush. Both of these are packing brushes of sorts, and we're going to use them to pack some shimmer on the lid. So in terms of final thoughts on these two, I actually prefer the e.l.f. brush. That is because it's dense and it's quite stiff. So it's good at picking up those shimmers that are a little bit hard to apply otherwise. For example, the Colourpop shimmer that I used from the Legend of Korra collection palette. That is a color that actually applies well with a finger. So it's that kind of a formula that will apply with this. And I think this did a good job. In terms of the Sigma brush, I think this might work well with those indie shadows that are quite emollient and they are good at picking up with a brush. However, in this case, it was a little too soft and a little too pliable to be applying it really well on the eye with the Colourpop shadow. So that's the difference. Moving on to another eyeshadow brush, we have the Sigma E30 pencil brush. And we have the small precision brush from e.l.f. So these two are different in shape. This is a more pointy and a little bit more denser brush, whereas this one has only a few fibers and it's quite small. I'm going to use both of these to apply shimmer to the inner corner. So in this case, I think the Sigma pencil brush outperformed the e.l.f. small precision brush because you can see the Sigma one delivered quite a brilliant highlight, whereas the precision brush delivered precision. I believe it's not fluffy enough to pick up enough product, and that's why it fell a little short. Both of these can serve different purposes as well, not just the inner corner highlight that I just did right now. This would be good for blending, whereas this could be good for very detailed, fine work. So both of these, I would say, are for different purposes, but for the purpose of an inner corner highlight, I definitely prefer the Sigma one. For the last brush set, we have E15, the flat definer brush from Sigma. And we have e.l.f.'s flat eyeshadow brush. You can see that they're both a little bit different in shape. This one is a flat, straight top, whereas this one has a rounded shape. I'm surprised that the e.l.f. brush does not have this shape because this is a very common brush shape that I've come across. However, we'll just try and put the lower lash line color under the eyes and see how they perform. In terms of precision of application, I would give points to the Sigma brush because you can see it applied the color close to the lash line in a very precise way. Whereas the e.l.f. brush was good at applying saturated color, but it did smudge a little bit and it's not as precise. So if you want a really crisp, precise line, I would recommend the Sigma. If you want a more smudgy kind of eyeliner, I would recommend this brush from e.l.f., the flat eyeshadow brush. Next in the set for e.l.f., we have the e.l.f. Brow Duo. And for Sigma, we have the E65 Small Angle Brush. So what I'm going to use this for is the eyebrows, because this is clearly an eyebrow brush and I want to keep things equal. On the Sigma's website, it says that this can be used for filling in the brows, whereas it can also be used for, I think, eyeliner or applying gel products along the lash line, it says. So to keep it consistent, I'm going to use it as a brow brush because the e.l.f. one is a brow brush. So thoughts on the eyebrow brushes. I think these are essentially pretty much the same brushes. This one is just a tad smaller and it can be a little bit more precise. It also comes with the brush to diffuse the eyebrow product, so that's a plus. This one is also good. They're pretty much the same in performance in my opinion, so they're both kind of equal to me. I also want to mention that these are the 8 brushes in the e.l.f. set that we didn't get to use. This is the complexion brush. This one is the flawless face brush. We have the powder blurring brush. We have the flawless concealer brush. The blending brush. Concealer brush. The pointed eye pencil. And the detail crease. These ones didn't have a comparable brush in the Sigma set. Here are my final thoughts about the Sigma brush set. I actually have quite a few favorites from this brush set. I believe I've discovered brushes that are going to be very useful to me going forward. These are the ones that I like the most. The Kabuki brush for foundation application, the large powder brush for powder application, the dual fiber powder blush for blush, the pencil brush for inner corner highlight, the blending brush. These 5 brushes are my favorites from the set. On the e.l.f. side, I think I like the foundation brush. It's good for those days when you don't want a lot of coverage. I like this brush for days when I don't want a full coverage application. So I would prefer this with something like a medium coverage foundation or a more sheer product. The powder brush unfortunately didn't work for me. I don't think it applied powder as well as the Sigma one did. And I think the shape is just not as suitable as some other shapes might be. I feel like the blending brush is just a little too big and deposits a lot of pigment. The blush brush, it just absorbed a lot of product and it didn't build as well as I'd hoped, and it didn't distribute the product as well as the Sigma one. This is a nice brush. This is good for detail work. There is no other brush in at least the Sigma set that is this small, so I think this could be very good for detailed work around the eyes. The highlighting brush, unfortunately, is too big for me. This spreads highlighter in a lot of area, and I don't necessarily prefer that. This is just a decent eyebrow brush. I don't usually use these type of brushes, and it's pretty standard as other brushes in the market, so there's nothing really special about that one. This is the mineral powder brush that we used for contour, and I think it does a decent job. This is one of my favorites from the set. This is the eyeshadow C brush. This is a thick, stiff packing brush, and I prefer that in my packing brushes for eyeshadow. I like the flat eyeshadow brush from e.l.f. as well. Actually, this does not apply as precisely under the lash line as the flat definer brush from Sigma. I would prefer this with more emollient indie shadows, for example. It's good for spreading those out because it's quite stiff, and maybe for some sort of like a glitter application. Well, that completes this video. I hope you enjoyed it and got to learn something about different kinds of brushes, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!